planche is a pretty cool looking skill, and it's an awesome way of strengthening your shoulders, your core, your biceps, your everything basically, with exception to a few muscles, without need for any kind of equipment. So you can basically do it anywhere, anytime, but it's also a super difficult skill, especially for someone. While some people can seemingly be able to do a planche within a year of practice, others might spend years developing the strength needed, and it's very individual and it's very body type dependent as well, which I will get into. So in this tutorial, I will go through a bunch of different progressions that you can use. I will introduce some strategies. I will talk about how you can make the planche a bit easier, and how the planche might be a bit more difficult for someone and easier for others. So hang tight. The most decisive factors in making the planche more difficult is obviously body weight, total body weight, how heavy you are, and also the length of your arms compared to your body, also known as ape factor, because the longer your arms are compared to the length of your body, the less of an angle is needed in the planche. And the steeper this angle are, the more difficult it will be. Your weight distribution will have the same effect by making your center of gravity move further down if you have larger or heavier legs or lower body in general. And this means that we need to compensate by leaning more and get a steeper angle, because our hands needs to be straight below our center of gravity when we are planching. And in the same way, a steeper angle means the position is more difficult to hold because our muscles are weaker in this position. And like what a lot of people think, body length does not have the same impact, other than the fact that longer people are naturally heavier. Thus, the planche is difficult, but a lot of long people are not heavy as well. There is one more thing though, and that is relating to the core part of the planche, because that will be more difficult when you are longer. And for some people in the planche in particular, this might actually be the reason why the planche is very difficult to attain. Because unlike most other exercises, in order to hold our body straight in a planche, we need to carry our whole lower body with the upper part of our spine extensors, which is basically that sort of long fillet of meat from on both sides of your spine. And usually when we do things like reverse leg lifts or whatever, we train the lower part of this, and we train our lower back. But in this case, we need to lift our whole body with the upper part of this spine extensor. And this is often very neglected, and something to consider isolating in training, in particular if you are longer or if you have a heavier lower body, because this might actually be a limiting factor in your planche progress. Now, I could be talking forever about stuff like this. Let me know in the comment section if you would like more elaborate discussion on body proportion related to the planche. But for now, let's just move on. There are a lot of planche tutorials out there, and most of them are very similar, and they introduce the same exercises, the same row, the same sort of standard approach to planche. And this is not one of them, I can assure you that. I had a really hard time going from, for example, tuck planche to advanced tuck planche, from advanced tuck planche to straddle planche, which is like crazy. These two exercises are so far apart, there should be 3 progressions in between them. At least that's what I felt. And in reality, that's also true for some people. While this standard planche road or approach can work for someone, for most people the steps are basically just too far apart, and that's what I intend to do something with. So typically the standard planche approach goes something like: step 1, you do the tuck planche, and when you can hold it for 30 seconds, you go to step 2, which is the advanced tuck planche. Hold it for 30 seconds, you go to the one-leg planche or the straddle planche, depending on, or the half-leg planche, and then you go to the full planche, and that's basically it. And from the looks of it, it's like, yeah, this is not too bad, but in reality, when you get there, you are soon to stagnate in most cases. So here comes the lost progressions, as I would like to call them, and it's pretty simple actually, because all of these steps or progressions can be performed one-legged. So instead of going straight from the tuck planche to advanced tuck planche, you can do a one-leg advanced tuck planche where you extend one hip so that it's 90 degrees while the other remain tucked closely into your chest, which will make it considerably easier. In this way you can build up more endurance here before gaining enough strength to do the full advanced tuck planche. And the same thing goes with the half leg, for example. Instead of going straight from the advanced tuck planche to one leg planche or half leg planche, you do a one leg half leg planche where you keep one leg tucked closely to your chest, or as close as you can, because you're extending the other hip completely, but bending your knee at least 90 degrees, and this will make it considerably easier than both the one leg planche and the half leg planche. You can do this basically with any of the progressions, just do it with one leg. Just remember to alternate the legs between sets. And a progression I like to call the open half leg planche is an invaluable progression in the line of planche progressions, I would say, because it is the easiest progression where you extend both of your hips. So I recommend spending a lot of time developing this particular progression, because this is the easiest way of gaining awareness in this very difficult position and developing both the core strength needed, the awareness needed to activate your hips in the proper way, as well as the elbow or bicep and shoulder strength needed to hold the position. And this can be done with resistance bands as well, in order to get to this point faster, because this is a super relevant exercise that will definitely be of benefit. Getting there as soon as possible will make you develop the planche quicker. And speaking about resistance bands is also a great way of training the planche, and can be sort of an intermediate step between any of the progressions. Not just between, for example, the tuck planche or the advanced tuck planche. It can also be a step between the tuck planche and the one-leg advanced tuck planche. And between all of the progressions, you can use a resistance band to sort of fill the gap. And it might take some time to learn how to use it properly. It's super important that your hands are directly underneath the attachment of the band, and that you place the band around your hips, or preferably where your center of gravity is, but usually it's around your navel or something like that, or your hips, so you should be fine. And I could talk forever about the benefits of using a resistance band. You will be less likely to get injured because you get used to the new position, especially related to wrist angle. So you get deloaded and you get to use some more time to build strength in the position when your equivalent weight is sort of lowered by the resistance band. But I can cover this in a separate tutorial because it's a very important topic. So let me know in the comment section if you would like me to do that. For now, just know that using bands might take some time to get used to and to sort of learn how to use them properly without it feeling weird. but it is an invaluable tool on the planche journey, especially if you're one of those that just struggle more with the planche. Doing dynamic repetitions can also be a very valuable asset on your planche journey, because it can help you develop strength in a different way, and especially excess strength, because that's what you need when you're doing planche presses and stuff. You need to sort of reverse the acceleration, and in order to do that you need more strength than needed to hold the position. So, and in addition to this, doing dynamic variations, which you can do for all of the different progressions, including the tuck planche, can also introduce a fun way of adding some variation into your practice. And the tuck planche exercises are pretty cool skills by themselves. Even learning to do the tuck planche press is an impressive achievement, and requires a lot of technical training as well. So you can sort of use this to switch up your training and to get some more fun into your training. Because at least I find that practicing these skills can be fun, and they can also be used in combinations by themselves when you're just messing around trying to use your strength for some movement play. Now, getting to the tuck planche especially, it can be a real pain. I know, but there are so many drills you can use to sort of get there. There are a variety of approaches you can use, and exercises and drills that will get you to the tuck planche press, including exercises like pike negatives to tuck planche. You can do negative tuck planches. You can do elephant stand press to handstand, or just a negative handstand, straight arm press, or a negative handstand to elephant. And a lot of these skills are pretty cool and pretty fun to practice as well. And in addition to this, the dynamic planche variations, especially tuck planche press, is super relevant for other skills as well, like the press to handstand, for example. The strength gained from planche exercises in particular is super relevant, and will have you learn the press to handstand much quicker as well. Like I talked about earlier, isolating the core part of the planche might be a good idea, especially if you are heavier, longer, or have a lower center of gravity, meaning you have a heavier lower body. So the way you would approach this is starting with regular reverse leg extensions, using a chair or whatever kind of platform you have access to. And you can make it more difficult by placing the edge of the platform you are using closer to your chest. But at some point you want to make it even more relevant, because these exercises mainly hit the lower part of your spine extensors. And like I talked about earlier, we really want to develop that upper part of our spine extensors. Examples of relevant core exercises related to the planche is particularly the assisted Maltese press and its different variations. At least that's what I like to call them. And this deloads your elbows and also slightly deloads your shoulders, so you're mainly focusing on using the upper part of your spine extensor in order to keep your body straight. And you start out by doing incomplete repetitions, and you follow sort of the same steps as you would in developing the planche, with doing half-lay variations. But in this case it might be difficult. In this case I would not use tuck position, because we want to emphasize the body positioning. So I would start at the open half-lay progression and rather do incomplete sets, meaning you don't go all the way down in the beginning. You go as far as you can and then up again. and work your way until you can do a full repetition, and then you add difficulty by straightening your knees and so on, like you would in a planche. And this is a particularly useful drill for developing strength to hold the body position of the planche. Now, taking all of this into consideration, you now suddenly have a lot of exercises to include into your planche training, and attacking it from sort of different directions, and you have some drills to sort of fill in the gaps between progressions. So let me know if you found this useful. Write a comment if you have had trouble going from one progression to the next. I'm sure a lot of us have. And if you would like a more structured program to follow, you can check out my app, which I will link in the description. This app contains hundreds of progressions for all kinds of strength moves, and it also has a particular planche module, one for developing the tuck planche and one from going from tuck planche all the way to a full planche.